Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show today. We are now joined by Mike Zinn, who is an amazing life coach and so much more. We want to welcome you to the show today and want to point out the website, lifecoachingbymikeZinn.com. That's spelled Zinn.com. Michael, how are you doing today?
I am doing great, Jill. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for being here. So please, let's get to know you. Introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners.
Absolutely. Well, I got into life coaching through a long series of actually being a coach, dating way back when I was a kid in the neighborhood. I was the one that was always setting up the teams, always coaching people in sports. Kind of fast forward that I actually coached at the high school and college level basketball for a number of years.
Okay.
So you're obviously doing a lot of coaching then, and then got into business. And you continue to do that. You're coaching teams, you're coaching and mentoring people that work directly for you and are a part of the company. And then started a couple of businesses myself, which I was doing the same thing. But in 2019, I had this bug that I wanted to be a life coach and kind of add that to the repertoire of companies that I had. And lo and behold, 2020 comes in January and February, and the world looks like it's going to end. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do my certification and actually put a business together.
Even though you had this innate ability since a child to be coaching people, it's good to have the certification, but it kind of just came natural to you, right?
It did. It was like, I need to do this, and I'm glad I did do the certification part of it. And then I just started kind of building my business, and have loved it. It's been challenging for everybody in 2020, but better things on the horizon for 2021, but it's been a great experience.
Exactly. So let's start off where are you based out of, and are you doing in-person sessions, or is this all virtual at this time?
Great question. I'm in Southern California, Tustin, California, which is in Orange County, kind of midway between Los Angeles and San Diego. I do some in person. That's opening up a little bit, socially distanced, kind of outside sessions, but quite a bit of it by Zoom or by phone, just depending on what the person's comfort level is. In life coaching, you really should be with the person.
Yeah.
There's just certain little nuances, maybe the way they've shrugged their shoulders or haven't made eye contact when they're talking, which gives me a little bit more insight into their particular situation.
All right. So I know you are a full service coaching company. So why don't we break down a little bit the type of specific coaching services you do provide and the types of clients out there that may be watching and listening saying, hey, I could use help with that. Could you give us some of those details?
Absolutely. At the core of any life coaching business is what I would call one-on-one life coaching. One client, one coach, and that could be a myriad of different things.
Okay.
I also work with groups and companies with leadership skills. I work with individuals on kind of entrepreneurial ventures, having launched a couple of those myself, some successful and sometimes not so successful. I've got a pretty good background on that. I've always done mentoring, and I believe mentoring is something that everybody should be doing in some way, not just life coaches. And then my wife and I work with engaged couples for marriage preparation. We've been doing that for about 8 years, and we decided let's just fold that into this company. We think that's a very important aspect of kind of stepping into the marriage arena. So we do that as well. And then, basic career counseling, change of career, new skills, that type of thing, which I do a lot of. Actually, I've been doing a lot of that in 2021.
Great. Now, did you have a specific focus for your show today as far as what you wanted to really hone in on for your listeners to start?
Yeah, absolutely. In 2020, we just had a lot of people who were experiencing health issues, relationship issues, loss of family members, loss of friends. Maybe they lost their job, or they were working at home when they weren't used to working at home. So that was kind of almost a triage kind of a situation with people. But as I'm getting into 2021, it's an interesting phenomenon, Jill. A lot of people are saying, okay, we got through 2020, and we're still got challenges in 2021, but I really want to start realizing my goals. I'm not in maintenance anymore. And they're looking ahead to life is fragile. Let's not waste it maybe on a career or a job that they're not totally happy with. I call it the bar stool syndrome, and I tell people don't be on a bar stool at 50 or 60 years old saying, gosh, what if I did this or what if I did that? Don't be that person. So it's been fun for a couple of reasons. One is I'm getting to work with people who are very, very motivated. They maybe just don't know how to package it or how to go about taking those next steps. And then I'm just a big believer in small business entrepreneurs. I think they're kind of the backbone of our country. And so anybody who wants to get into that, boy, I'm all for it.
Great. Wonderful. And go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
No. I was just going to say, so that's been a great focus. And so what we usually do with that type of program is I literally tell people, write down what you want. Just put it on paper any way that you would like. And then once you've done that, kind of visualize that. I'm a big visualization person. I'm a big vision board person. And so I try to get people to, they don't have to be super artists, but just get something down on a vision board that they can look at and do it in small bits, not big, huge things at first. And then we start putting an action plan together. And action plans are great because, you can, again, take something, you can write it down, you can attack it. We do it together, kind of solve it, move forward. And then you feel good about it. It isn't so scary as, you don't have this big, huge goal that's at the end of, I want this by the end of 2021. How do I get there? And then maybe you give up. Let's worry about the first step in that goal for this week. And try to do that. And then it gives them some empowerment.
So baby steps, I think, is what you're trying to say, right? And by the way, I'm on your website as well, and I'm scrolling through, and I'm reading about you even more now that we're here. And it's beautiful what you are about. So our authority is our experience. I like that. You strive to assist clients in their journey to get appreciably better from one day to the next. So the building blocks for life coaching. So you have your coaching, creativity, innovation. And another quote, the distance between your dreams and reality is called action. And that's something that people need to start doing. But, they may have a little bit of fear of that, right? A little anxiety. How would you, someone out there listening today that wants more for themselves, more, whether it's a relationship, whether it's career, they want more. And you're trying to tell them it's there. It's very simple to achieve. I can help you, but they're still a little hesitant. How do you work with those type of people who are a little bit anxious and dealing with the fear factor in a sense?
Good question. What I do in every kind of first session, and Jill, I offer every prospective client a 45-minute free consultation. Because I really believe that there has to be a connection between the client and the coach. And if there isn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
We both go our separate ways. But during that time, or at least in the first session, I try to hear the backstory from the person. So maybe there is something that is keeping them from going forward that's kind of in their background. And so we try to find what that is. And that's my job, ask the right questions. And then we try to move forward, and then we don't turn back. Life coaching is all about action, goals, move forward. Don't keep going to the dredging up the past. It's over with. And we're never going to get beyond that fear if we don't start moving forward.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much. So again, you have to just go with it and you got to feel it. And I believe what you say, I write things down. Now, a vision board could be very helpful. And I know you mentioned that's one of the tools you use for someone, but it's also, written down on a piece of paper. You can look at it, or it's on your phone or wherever it is, but it's something that you can look at each and every day. Check off that list. I mean, see what you want, envision it, and make it happen. I think that's so super helpful in anyone wanting anything more out of their life. Even in general, on a daily basis, I make my little tiny vision boards in a sense, where mostly it's notes and tasks and things to do today. But always one of the things on my list is to be grateful.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I think that gives us that mindset to be grateful for what we have with anything in life. We're alive, we're healthy, we're here. This year has shown unfortunate events with the pandemic, right? That anxiety, depression, loss of jobs, loss of work, homeschooling, losing friends, family. So it's been a rough year. If anything, the pandemic has taught me to live your best life and take that chance now while you have the chance, in a sense, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You brought up a great point I'm a big believer in journaling. And I encourage my clients to start the day off journaling, and they'll sometimes say, well, what do I write down? Well, why don't you start off first with 3 things you're grateful for?
Yeah.
And they can be the same thing every day, but it just reaffirms that you're grateful for those things. And maybe they're not great, but they're not quite as bad as you maybe think they are when you find out all the grateful things that you have.
Good. Now, you work with people one-on-one, and you also do group coaching. Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Group coaching could be in a classroom session, almost
Okay.
like I was telling you about with the engaged couples
Yes.
class. Those are actual classes, but also with smaller companies, larger companies, working with their teams to try to develop leadership skills, because I think that in the world we need more leaders, positive leaders, and companies need that. Organizations need that. It could be everything from a church group to an actual business. So those are important, and I've got leadership classes that are designated from everything from teenagers to service organizations to business, and we just tweak it slightly depending on what the group is.
Got it. And in your coaching, is it, for example, if you're doing virtual, for example, is it always live with the person? Is there a certain amount of time? What can be expected? Is there online courses and videos, or it's strictly working with you, or even you and your wife for the relationship aspect of it?
It is live. It is all the sessions are 60 seconds,
Right.
60 seconds, excuse me, 60 minutes,
Got it.
with the exception of the free consultation that I offer people. So yeah, it's live, it's back and forth, it's interactive.
Mhm.
It really, with the client, I tell them kind of right from the beginning, you do the heavy lifting on this. The coach is a conduit to try to link together all the pieces of your life to help you move forward.
Yeah.
But don't expect to come in and not be an active part of this, and maybe even have some homework at the end of the session before we do the next session. Keeps
Beautiful.
people accountable.
Absolutely. And is there one area in particular did you want to focus on? Is there one, commonality in a sense where you gear towards clients who really are, whether they're looking to change their work, or one who's trying to get over the fear of anxiety, or is there a certain niche that you have? I know you work with so many different areas, but is
Yeah.
there one in particular that you see a lot of commonalities in a lot of your clients that they're all aspiring to have or to be?
Yes. There's typically, if you say to somebody, what are you interested? Well, I'm interested in career advice. That links into about 5 things.
Yeah.
You mentioned anxiety. It links into anxiety. It links into maybe relationships, support groups. So we try to say, okay, again, that's that backstory. How do we deal with those to get you to this thing down the line, which is your career, your career issue. So the common threads are, I think, the same thing that we all go through. We all maybe have struggles with relationships or family or time management or fear, anxiety.
Yeah.
So you gotta just recognize that those are there,
Okay.
and then start to build on each of those to get them to what their original goal was, whatever that was.
Beautiful. And for today, did you have another area of specificity in mind? Just reading your notes here, and I know there's a lot that you wanted to talk about, from your own personal endeavors to the types of coaching you do. What would you like to talk about next, Mike?
Well, I want to talk just, if I could, a little bit, and it's just it's what we've also been talking, and I don't mean to overdo the whole living in the pandemic, but I think it is, and it's we've gone through the 24-hour news cycle on it, and we're still getting that. But I think what I have been trying to tell people is they're still struggling with that. I say, okay, let's look back at 2020 and what did come out of 2020? Were there any good things that came out? And so, maybe I had to prod them a little bit. And so, I said, maybe it was that you got a chance to spend more time with family and friends.
For sure. I'm grateful for that. Yes, absolutely.
And I think quality time. Instead of sending that quick text, maybe you got on the phone and you talked, and boy, that phone call maybe was a long phone call.
Yeah.
Maybe you got on Zoom, maybe you learned the new skill because I don't know how to do Zoom, but I had to learn it because I had to help my children with school, or I wanted to communicate face to face. So, there was definitely more quality time. Maybe it was learned a new skill. I just mentioned Zoom. It might have been taking an online course. It might have been, I really would love to learn how to play the guitar, but I never have any time. But now I have the time. I didn't have a long commute every day. I didn't have maybe some useless meetings at work. I could really focus. And then the normal ones, I got caught up with chores and things around home improvements. I mean, that industry has thrived, I think, in 2020 as people are doing things around their homes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really important to me is fitness. Both my wife and I also have a fitness company. And so I think people could get maybe more quality workouts because they, again, weren't driving. The gym was closed, so they weren't waiting around in a gym because a machine wasn't ready for them. And so they had to maybe work out at home. And that also made them get more resourceful. I don't know how many videos I saw of people doing curls with soup cans.
Yes.
All they had, right? So I think that was important. Maybe reached out to an estranged friend or family member. Because you all of a sudden felt maybe it was grateful that you needed to do that. I think that the last thing that I kind of tell people is, in 2021, build momentum on whatever you learned from 2020. Create great family and friend memories. Quiet your mind, however you do that. Develop a familiar and consistent routine. So you're not just kind of sitting around.
Very important.
Yes. What do I do next? Kind of. And then maybe it's like you fall back in old habits and you sit in front of the TV all the time when you could be learning a new skill or working out. And then last but not least, try to do one positive thing for somebody else during the day. Get out of yourself a little bit. Mm-hmm. And whether it's reaching out to a neighbor, it's helping a family member, whatever it is, but do something positive for someone else.
Good. And also you blog a lot.
I do. That, I'll tell you, that is one of my passions. So what I actually do, Jill, is I take the blog and then I turn it into a YouTube.
Yeah. I see.
It's been fun. It's been a ball.
The latest was sticking your finger into a light socket.
Yes, we've all probably done that, but then that was when we were 5 years old, not very smart. But I think people now, it was a great little segue. People need to stick their finger in the light socket every once in a while and
feel it,
test themselves, and know that they can come out of it on the other side, whatever it is.
And how important would you say being consistent is?
To me, and again, I think that's my personality, is I try. Routines are good for me.
Yeah. I think for everyone, am I able to say that? Most people, I think, benefit from a routine.
I agree. Some people maybe become a little bit over the top with it. So you got to kind of find your rhythm. But
true.
For me, if I'm writing every day, the world is good around me.
Yeah.
It's a little cathartic to me. And it maybe is something that I publish as a blog. Maybe I just throw it away, or maybe it's in a journal. But if I'm writing, it kind of allows me to set my day up right. And when we set our days up right, they usually go pretty smoothly.
Now, could you tell us some testimonials without using names of some of your
Mhm.
roofing clients that you've been working with and the types of things you've helped with? It's great to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Had one client that I was working with that was later in life. I mean, I'm not even going to call them a senior. They were just later in life,
Okay.
and they just said, I don't know. I feel so great. I'm in good shape. I'm in good health. I feel like I have something to give. I have some other skills that I want to be able to use. They actually didn't need to work. They didn't need to work at all. But so I started first by saying, come on and let's just see what you can do to give back. What
Yeah.
what would you like to do? Do you have an organization or something you can work with? He said, I'm not a big volunteer and I'm not a big giver. I said,
Okay.
well, let's try to get you out of that. So again, baby steps. Had him go, volunteer 1 day a week for an hour
Okay.
in one organization. He loved it, and he went on from there. Then I said, okay, what's your passion? If you were to rewind the clock, what did you really want to do when you were in high school, college? And he said, I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Aw.
But I couldn't do, it just wasn't possible.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you're probably not going to go back to vet school, but what do you like? Well, I love dogs and I've got 2 dogs. And I said, well, maybe we can consider you doing a dog walking business.
Yeah.
Maybe we can consider you, just trying to care for dogs if you have this knack for that. And then that went on into, then he was volunteering at a
I
shelter
was
for
going to
dogs.
say that.
And then I got him, he wasn't a writer, but I got him to start blogging on pet care and dog training. And he's having a ball. He's got his own website now.
Wow.
He feels like he is giving back, yet he is kind of rewinding his life so that he can do exactly what he wants to do. And I told him, I said, keep me in the loop and keep sending me stuff because I want to follow you and I want to recommend you to other people.
That's
So,
amazing. And how long did you work with him for, in a sense? Do you
not
recall?
not that long. And that's a great point, Jill. The difference between life coaching and therapy is we don't keep people in the program for a long time. It's whenever I kind of feel there's a breakthrough, but it's usually 2 to 5 sessions. And if it's 5 sessions and I can't help them, or they just aren't open to helping themselves, then we usually, shake hands, we're friends. And, I say, maybe contact me again down the road. But I said, I don't know if I can help you right now.
Okay.
And I don't feel right, taking money or time for you, time for me as well, which is valuable. But that, it just depends. If somebody is open like this gentleman was, it was very seamless and very easy. Trust me, they're not all that way.
And let me ask you, I know you do a lot with the relationships, right? And now with the pandemic as well. Well, have you noticed anything the past year? I mean, I just know from the news, right? They're saying that there's a lot more domestic violence. There's a lot more, people not used to being with their spouse and partner. Have you seen an uptick in that type of hostility at home? Or do you think some relationships have you seen been better from the pandemic, spending more time together?
A little bit of both. I mean, thank goodness I haven't experienced any of the more violent kind of confrontations, but I have seen some where people have said, I'm spending too much time with you, and it's not maybe working. At the same time, I am seeing people who have they've kind of reignited their relationship, and they've gone back again, with time, they've gone back to some of the things that they like to do. And just something simple. In California, we can get out in the weather because it's always pretty good.
Yes.
So people are doing a lot of walking, and they would say to me, we just never had time to do that.
Wow.
And now we realize it's important because it gets us outside, gets us some exercise, we connect. And it just, it's allowed them to just kind of re-energize some of the aspects of their relationship, which is really good.
Perfect. And I can't believe it. We are almost out of time here. My goodness. Wow. Yeah, 2 minutes. In closing today, Mike, Zinn, tell us how we get in touch with you and, website, phone number, all the above.
Okay. It's www.lifecoachingbymikeZinn.com.
Okay.
You can email through the site. The site has a lot of good information, I think, in terms of services and philosophy. Or phone number here in Southern California, 714-606-5728.
Perfect. And in closing today, what would you like to leave with your listeners?
I think just one thing, we both touched on. Be grateful for what you have. Don't ever ignore those things. They're meaningful. And do something for somebody else. That could be a mantra for every day of your life.
Absolutely. Be selfless. All right, Mike Zinn, thank you so much for your time today. It's a pleasure having you join us here and looking forward to the next conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jill. Take care.
Thank you. Please stay tuned. Of course, we have more of the show coming right up after the break.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.